I told you guys that a few weeks ago I was at the Netroots Nation conference in Detroit, Michigan. I had stories from Detroit. One of the things I didn't mention was that at the conference there was a pretty noticeable movement that was a pro-Hillary Clinton movement, and there was also a pretty noticeable pro-Elizabeth Warren movement. And one of the arguments that the supporters of Hillary Clinton have been increasingly trying to make is that if you like Elizabeth Warren, Hillary Clinton has the same views, the same level of progressivism, but she also has more experience and more credibility. And this is also now something that even more official supporters of Hillary Clinton are saying. There was a statement from a Clinton strategist to the Hill newspaper and said, ask any so-called left or liberal critic of Hillary to name a single vote or position on which Elizabeth Warren and Hillary would disagree, trying to push this idea that Hillary Clinton is essentially the same when it comes to policy positions as Elizabeth Warren. And I think it's interesting to point out that that actually isn't true. You could still prefer Hillary Clinton over Elizabeth Warren for whatever reasons you might prefer Warren over Hillary, whatever the case may be. But to say that they are the same on policy would be factually wrong, and I thought we'd go through a couple of these ways. So Elizabeth Warren, in her book, The Two-Income Trap, slammed Hillary Clinton for casting a Senate vote back in 2001 for a bankruptcy bill that ultimately passed in 2005, and the legislation made it more difficult for credit card customers to renegotiate their debts, and it allowed wealthy people to protect their second homes and yachts for creditors. Elizabeth Warren differs with Hillary Clinton on that issue. Additionally, Elizabeth Warren has been a pretty strong critic of so-called free trade deals, which create regulatory protections for patents and copyrights. They are very pro-corporate legislation. And Hillary Clinton, in contrast, was very much in favor of NAFTA. In fact, she was a key backer of NAFTA. So, Lewis, even at superficial examination, there are significant differences between Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren.
There are. It seems that despite Warren's past, it seems that as a senator, she has been much less of, I guess, what you would call a corporate ass kisser.
Yeah, no, that's. I think, Lewis, that's a fair term to apply here. Hillary Clinton, also a prominent supporter of the 1996 welfare reform legislation, which made it more difficult for poor families to receive government benefits. Elizabeth Warren not on board with that. Then, of course, there is also Hillary Clinton's vote for the Iraq War. During her 2012 Senate campaign, Elizabeth Warren was an outspoken critic of the war, and as a senator, she co-sponsored a new bill to repeal the original authorization for that war. So there are clearly differences, but I think it's important to mitigate this by saying, Lewis, after the fact critiques of things an elected official did while you were not an elected official may not always be completely fair, because as we know, not having had to be on record voting one way or another as an elected official at the time does allow for a certain amount of 2020 hindsight, Monday morning quarterbacking.
That's it. And I guess, we have to take her at her word if she said that I would not have voted for the war or whatever. But there are major differences here between the two.
We are talking in shades of gray, right? And when we compare Hillary Clinton to Elizabeth Warren, it's a very important and valid comparison, but we have to remember either of them compared to Mitch McConnell, I think we all know where we fall on that.
I don't think there's any disagreement there. I think we're all on the same page.